We now step into the devotional stream of the Gaudiya tradition, the world of Rupa Goswami, Jiva Goswami, and the divine teachings that celebrate Bhakti as sweetness, surrender, and rasa. We are honored to welcome His Grace, Shri Madhu Pandit Dasaji, President of ISKCON, Bangalore. I invite Ms. Minnie, my colleague, to come on the dais and give brief introduction about our distinguished guest.
Namaste, sir. His Grace Shri Madhu Pandit Dasaji. He is the chairman and mentor of the Global Hare Krishna movement, founder and chairman of the Akshaya Patra Foundation, president of ISKCON Bangalore. He has rendered more than 4 decades of selfless service to society. He is also the chairman of Vrindavan Chandrodaya Mandir, the upcoming cultural heritage infrastructure in the holy land of Vrindavan. A distinguished alumnus of the prestigious IIT Bombay, he has been instrumental in conceiving and implementing various spiritual and humanitarian programs that have positively impacted millions of people, giving them a better quality of life. He has conceptualized the art, design, and architecture of magnificent temples and cultural complexes all over India. He has worked tirelessly to preserve and promote Indian culture and heritage among children and youth for their holistic well-being. He has also decisively championed the cause of universal food security and community welfare. Shri Madhuji initiated the Akshaya Patra feeding program in the year 2000 to fulfill the great desire of Srila Prabhupada to see that no one, especially children, should go hungry. Since then, he has contributed immensely towards alleviating classroom hunger and improving the nutrition levels of children in government schools all over the country. Under his visionary leadership, the Akshaya Patra movement has become a globally admired public-private partnership in the development sector. He has personally directed the organization to undertake massive food assistance initiatives during emergencies in India and abroad. His enriching spiritual discourses and expert guidance have inspired thousands of youth to dedicate themselves and work for the welfare of society. His stellar contributions have been appreciated through prestigious awards and accolades like the Padma Shri, Gandhi Peace Prize, National Award for Child Welfare, Nikkei Asia Prize, and Distinguished Alumnus Award by IIT Bombay. Thank you.
Thank you, Minnie. I request our director, Sri H.N. Suresh sir, to felicitate our esteemed guest. Thank you, sir. Sir, we invite you to share your wisdom with us.
Respected scholars, esteemed saints and devotees of divine path, the lovers of absolute truth, Hare Krishna. Let me begin with my sincere prayers to my divine master, Vishwaguru, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nitinamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshtarane Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I am honored to present to this august assembly a concise exposition of the Gaudiya Sampradaya, its origin, philosophical lineage, scriptural roots, and the lives of its key acharyas and devotees. ISKCON is very well known all over the world, and many do not know the Siddhantic background of the Hare Krishna movement founded by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The Gaudiya Sampradaya is not a recent phenomenon, but rather the ripened fruit of Sanatana Dharma, rooted in Vedic, Upanishadic, Puranic traditions as compiled by Shri Vyasadeva. The Acharyas of Gaudiya tradition have built on the legacy of the Acharya trilogy, Sri Shankara, Sri Ramanuja, Sri Madhvacharya, and explicitly acknowledging the Madhvacharya's foundational role as we are affiliated with the Brahma Narada Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. While Chaitanya tradition is associated with Bhakti tradition, which is established as its core, a careful analysis reveals its deep Vedic roots. Professor Raj Singh, a contemporary philosophical professor and scholar from Brock University in Canada, in the Journal of Dharma, page 460 to 469, writes, "The verbal root of the term bhakti lies in Sanskrit bhaja, means to share, to partake, to participate. Since sharing with persons indicated a communication, braj was used in the sense of love and with respect to various aspects of love, such as to possess, to enjoy, to prefer, to adore, to worship, to commit oneself, and to be loyal. Bhakti then etymologically conveys the sense of participation and sharing. In the classics of Sanskrit literature composed from 5th century onwards, derivatives of bhaj are used to speak about both secular and religious love, about the relationship between man and woman, about reverence towards a guru, worship of gods, man's love of God, God's love of man. The synonyms of bhakti are all synonyms of prema, priti, sneha, anuraga, anurakti. Although the term bhakti is not to be found in the Rig Veda hymns, the word bhaj is present. The essential tendencies of bhakti, such as recognition of God's charity, friendliness, and deep involvement in human affairs, as well as man's self-surrendering prayer, nivedana, symbolic offering, archana, and sweet recollections of God's goodness are all evident." Unquote. He refers to Rig Veda 1.56.3. The translation is, "Indeed, we propitiate of our own accord the Vishnu about whom we follow the footsteps of the ancient ones, know as a source of cosmic order, rhythm, or universal law, and cognizant of the glories of His name, we seek His graciousness." Sayana, 14th century Mimamsa scholar and famous commentator of Rig Veda, comments, "Propitiate of your own accord, Janusu Piparthana, or propitiate by your birth, that is Swatha Eva, of yourself, spontaneously, not from any interested motive, na kenachid vara labhadhina." The Vedic seers were conscious of the pure aspects of bhakti from their earliest hymns. Realization of bhakti was seen as a culmination of austerity, as the Vedas themselves devote much to its attainment through tapasya. In Ishopanishad mantra 15, we see, "Hiranyamayena patrena satyasya apihitam mukham Tattvam Pushan Apavrunu Satya Dharmaya Drishtaye. O my Lord, sustainer of all that lives, your real face is covered by your dazzling effulgence. Kindly remove that covering and exhibit yourself to your pure devotee. Mantra 16, Ishopanishad. Pushan ekarshe yama surya prajapatya vyuha rasmin samuha tejo yatte rupam kalyanatamam tatte pashyami yo asau asau purushaha soham asmi. O my Lord, the primeval philosopher, please remove the effulgence of your transcendental rays so that I can see your form of bliss. You are the eternal supreme personality of Godhead. Mantra 17. Vayur anilam amritam athedham basmantam shariram Om krato smarakritam smarakrato smarakritam smara. Let this temporary body be burned to ashes. Now, O my Lord, please remember all my sacrifices because you are the ultimate beneficiary. Please remember all that I have done. Mantra 18. Agne naya supata raye asman vishwani deva vayunani vidwan yuyodi asmat juhrana meno bhuishtam te nama uktim vidhema. O my Lord, O powerful as fire, please lead me on the right path to reach you. And since you know that I have done in the past, all that I have done in my past, please free me from the reactions to my past sins so that there will be no more hindrance to my progress. From Katha Upanishad. These are all verses that actually bring forth that our Upanishads also, though in the Rig Veda, there is no specific word of bhakti and it is more of intellectual. When it comes to the Upanishads, there are various occasions where the personal aspect of the absolute truth is also glorified. So, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's special contribution was that the absolute truth, Param Satya, is simultaneously personal, highly personal, and also owner of unlimited energies which may be impersonal. So, personal aspect of the absolute truth and the impersonal aspect of the absolute truth is a complete understanding of the absolute truth as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu established through the Vedas, Upanishads and Puranas. In Kathopanishad, Vijnana Sarthiyarthastu Manha Pragavana Naraha So Dhvanaha Paramapnoti Tad Vishnu Paramam Padam. But the man who has a discriminating intellect as the driver and a controlling mind as the reins reaches the end of road that is highest place of Vishnu. From Sveteshvatara Upanishads. Yasya deve parabhakti yata deve tata guru tasyaita katita hi arthaha prakashante mahatmanaha. Anyone who has developed unflinching faith in the Lord and the Guru can understand the revealed scriptures which unfold before him. In the Bhagavad Gita, as Srila Prabhupada, our founder Acharya, writes in his commentary, a learned scholar who has studied the Vedas perfectly and has information from authorities like Lord Chaitanya and who knows how to apply these teachings can understand that Krishna is the origin of everything in both the material and spiritual worlds. And because he knows this perfectly, he becomes firmly fixed in devotional service to the Supreme Lord. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Vedescha sarvair aham eva vedya. By all the Vedas, I am to be known. And in Brahma Samhita, in the Brahma Samhita, Brahma says, Vedeshu durlabam adurlabam atma bhakto. He is obtained with great difficulty through the Vedas, but he is easily obtained by simply being his surrendered devotees. Further, Lord Krishna explains the effect on one who truly understands him. Bhagavad Gita 10.8 Aham sarvasya prabhavo mata sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvitaha. In Srila Prabhupada's own words, he explains this verse. Krishna says, Aham sarvasya prabhavo mata sarvam pravartate iti matva. Buddha means very learned man, one who is completely wise, no illusion. Such a person is Buddha. Buddha, one must be very well versed at the same time, completely in spiritual emotion, bhava. That is also stated in Vedic literature. What is it that bhava? Each and every word, if you try to understand scrutinizingly, they are very sublime. So one has to come to the stage of bhava. Then he can attain love of God. Bhava means transcendental emotion. Then he can understand what is love of God. Buddha bhava, iti matva bhajante mam. Bhajante means one who engages himself in transcendental loving service of the Lord in complete emotion. That is wanted. How that emotion is attained, that is also described by Rupa Goswami. How one can attain that stage one after another? The first stage is Shraddha. Shraddha means faith. Adau Shraddha. If one has got this faith, then he can develop that faith to the highest perfectional stage of transcendental emotion, bhava, and then love of God. And finally, Srimad Bhagavatam gives a direct expression of pure bhakti. Atma ramascha muneyo nirgrantha api urukrame kurvanti ahetukim bhakti ittam bhuta guno harihi. All the different varieties of Atma Ramas, that is, those who take pleasure in Atma or spiritual self, especially those established in the path of self realization, though freed from all kinds of material bondage, desire to render unalloyed devotional service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This means that the Lord possesses transcendental qualities and therefore can attract everyone, including the liberated souls. This is the ultimate declaration of Lord Himself in the Bhagavad Gita after giving exposition to Dhyana Yoga in that entire chapter. Yoginam api sarvesham mat gaten antaratmana shraddhavan bhajate yo mam same yuktatamo matah. Translation: and of all the yogis, he who abides in me with great faith, worshipping me in transcendental loving service, is the most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. Indeed, without such bhakti, there is no mukti possible from the deha bandhana, as stated in Srimad Bhagavatam. Evam manaha karma vasham prayukte avidhyatmani upadiye mane Pritir na yavan mai vasudeve na muchyate deha yogena tavat. When the living entity is covered by the mode of ignorance, he does not understand the individual living being and the supreme living being, and his mind is subjugated to fruitive activity. Therefore, until one has love for Lord Vasudeva, who is none other than myself, he is certainly not delivered from having to accept a material body again and again. There is a mistaken notion, unfortunately being spread even among the saintly and scholarly communities, and even among some sampradayas, that bhakti is meant for sentimental and not so intellectually inclined or scholarly persons, which is far from truth. Rather, true scholarship culminates in one becoming a surrendered devotee of the Lord. Sriman Sri Rajagopalacharya, the first and the last Indian governor general and scholar, in an introductory talk to a musical rendering of Bhajagovindam by Srimati M.S. Subbalakshmi, recorded in a very old gramophone recording. He had said, "The way of devotion is not different from the way of knowledge or jnana. When intelligence matures and lodges securely in the mind, it becomes wisdom. When wisdom is integrated with life and issues out in action, it becomes bhakti. Knowledge, when it becomes fully mature, is bhakti. If it does not get transformed into bhakti, such knowledge is useless tinsel. In this way, I have demonstrated that bhakti as taught by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and in the Gaudiya Sampradaya is not some modern innovation, but rather a fresher exposition of what was known and practiced by the rishis of the yore from time immemorial, as evidenced from the Vedas, Upanishads, Smriti, Purana, Itihasas, and Pancharatra. It is also recognized as such by modern scholars who have seriously studied all schools of philosophy with an open mind. With these scriptural and scholarly foundations, the Gaudiya Sampradaya positions bhakti not as a sentimental substitute for less capable or less intelligent who are not qualified for intellectual or yogic pursuits, but as the true consummation of all philosophical and yogic pursuits and the true result of the highest spiritual attainment. Now I'll describe some of the luminaries in the Gaudiya Sampradaya, the acharyas in our particular lineage, and their contributions. I now start giving a brief account of the acharyas of Gaudiya Sampradaya, with special emphasis on Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the recent acharyas, whose life and history are known in greater detail. While dealing with the life of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we will also dwell on the philosophy propounded by him and his divinity. First, Srila Madhavendra Puri, 14th, 15th, between 14th and 15th century. Rooted in Madhva Sampradaya, Lakshmipati Tirtha as Guru, he sowed the seed of practice-centered Prema Bhakti. His Leela with Kshirachor Gopinath deity, who stole kheer to give prasadam to him when he was totally immersed in meditative bhakti, is a pastime recounted even till today. His exclusive focus on Krishna Bhakti was unprecedented. It marked a breakthrough, moving beyond scholarly studies, austerity, ritual, and social traditions that had become dominant in the Madhva Sampradaya. His principal disciples were Ishwara Puri, Advaita Acharya, and Nityananda Prabhu. Ishwara Puri, 1510, Guru of Lord Chaitanya. His initiation of Nimai Pandit. Before initiation, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was known as Nimai Pandit. His initiation of Nimai Pandit marked a turning point in Chaitanya's spiritual mission. Ishwara Puri's humility and service were paramount, and his composition of Krishna Leelamrita was highly praised by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Speaking of the contributions of the above two personalities, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita describes, all glories to Sri Madhavendra Puri, the storehouse of all devotional service unto Krishna. He is a desiratory of devotion service, and it is in him that the seed of devotion service first fructified. The seed of devotion service next fructified in the form of Sri Ishwara Puri, and then the gardener himself, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, became the main trunk of the tree of devotion service of Gaudiya Vaishnava Parampara. Sri Advaita Acharya, 1434 to 1559. He was a chief preceptor and the catalyst for Chaitanya's appearance, known for his worship of Salagrama and Tulsi, calling out for Lord's incarnation. It is said that on the invitation of Advaita Acharya, Lord Chaitanya descended. Gaudiya tradition sees him as a Karanodakshaya Vishnu and Sadashiva combined, and he was a central spiritual guide in Navadvip before Mahaprabhu's advent. Sri Nityananda Prabhu, 1474 to 1540. Born in Ekachakra, Bengal, the direct manifestation of Balaram. He prominently spread the Sankirtana mission, especially with Haridas Thakur. Haridas Thakur was a born Muslim and he got addicted to chanting the holy name of the Lord. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually crowned him with the title Namacharya Haridas Thakur. So in our Gaudiya Parampara, you can see that beyond any caste, creed or anything, there have been luminaries who have become a role model, an example for the entire world. In ISKCON, we consider Haridas Thakur as a Nama Acharya. He used to chant 23 hours the Harinama, and only 1 hour he used to sleep, eat, etc. That he went on doing till his ripe old age. At the old age, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu lifted him, who was only bones, and told him, okay, now you stop, you can, you relax. But he would not relax. His tongue would not stop chanting the Harinama. So, Nityananda Prabhu, he spread this Harinam Sankirtan along with Haridas Thakur. His divine wife Jahnavi led the Gaudiya Vaishnavas after Nityananda's departure. Nityananda Prabhu is considered the most prominent and important personality next only to Chaitanya by the Gaudiyas. Without the grace of Nityananda Prabhu, one cannot enter into the loving pastimes of Lord Krishna and Lord Chaitanya. He is identified with the original Guru Tattva, who delivers all conditioned souls by infusing devotional strength in their weak hearts. Now come to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, 1486 to 1534. As Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is a core to Gaudiya Vaishnavas and the prime inspiration to all his followers, I will speak about him at greater length. Recognized as the Avatara in Kali Yuga, he profoundly transformed the landscape of devotional practice, replacing ritual and scholarly wrangling with loving surrender. His only written work, Sistashtaka, distills the essence of all Vedic wisdom. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's achievements include, but are not limited to: 1. Inaugurating the Sankirtana movement, democratizing devotion through public chanting, open to all regardless of caste or background. Identifying the holy sites. 2. Identifying the holy sites of Vrindavan and expounding practical ways of reaching Krishna Prema. Before Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Leela Sthalas of Krishna was covered. The entire Vrindavan was a forest. Nobody knew where different pastimes happened. It is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, by instructing his 6 Goswamis, his direct disciples, that one by one, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu pointed out, this is the birthplace, this is a pastime, this is Gokula, this is Nandagram. All these places and the particular spots. Today, when you go to Vrindavan, we have very clear identification of each spot of Krishna's Leela. That is a very special contribution of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then, expanding the scope of inclusion, accepting non-Hindus such as Haridas Thakur as chief preachers of the holy names. Next, teaching and guiding his scholarly disciples, followers like the Goswamis, and instructing them to excavate the places of Krishna Leelasthana in Vrindavan, as well as instructing them to write extensively on the Gaudiya philosophy. Debating with scholars of his day, namely Sri Prakashananda Saraswati in Benares, Keshav Kashmiri in Navadvip, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya in Puri, and others, to establish devotion to the Lord as the highest and the essence of all teachings of all Vedas and Vedic literature. Traveling the length and breadth of India to establish and inaugurate public Sankirtana. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu traveled all over India, including South India. All these are well recorded, historically recorded facts. Connect and popularize the Puri Jagannath Puri Ratha Yatra, bringing people in lakhs to take part in the Ratha Yatra. He explained Puri Ratha Yatra as a ceremony of being based on the pastimes of the gopis being in separation from Krishna, inspiring legends of kings, rich aristocracy, and lay people in lakhs to take to the path of devotion, demonstrating the highest possibility of devotional achievement as never seen before, reconciling and uniting all various divided sampradayas under one umbrella of Nama Sankirtana and Bhakti. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's philosophical contribution. Mahaprabhu's philosophical contribution to the world is profound and is referred to as Achintya Bheda Abheda Tattva, the doctrine of inconceivable simultaneous oneness and difference. Though Mahaprabhu did not write any commentary or treatise that is available to us, we know his articulation of the Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva from his biographies, various other works of his followers, and the Acharyas in the line who were instructed by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, particularly the Goswamis, to do so. Srila Rupa Goswami focused on the esoteric aspects of Mahaprabhu's teaching, Srila Sanatana Goswami on the liturgical elements useful for sadhana and deity worship, and Sri Jiva Goswami in his Sat Sandarbhas has given the clearest articulation of Mahaprabhu's philosophical stance. Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva describes a reality that refuses to be confined by the binary categories in our mind, cling to oneness versus difference, spirit versus matter, personal versus impersonal. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught that the Jiva and the Lord are eternally one in quality but infinitely different in quantity. Just as a sun ray is one with the sun, yet never becomes the sun itself. This is not a compromise between monism and dualism, nor a vague mysticism that says it is beyond words and stops thinking. It is a synthesis that transcends both by invoking a higher logic, one that honors the mystery of reality without abandoning reason. It recognizes a profound truth that in the absolute, all contradictory perceptions are perfectly harmonized by the inconceivable potency of the Lord. Jiva Goswami, in his Sat Sandarbhas, has elaborated that both Krishna and Jiva are Tattva or truth, but Krishna is Paratattva, the supreme whole, while the Jiva is Vibhinamsha Tattva, a fragmental expansion. Both are eternal, conscious, and blissful, but the Lord is infinite and the Jiva is infinitesimal. This understanding is not a contradiction. It is harmony on a higher level, a recognition that the infinite can contain relationships that the finite mind cannot reduce without distortion. When Mahaprabhu used the word achintya, inconceivable, he did not mean irrational or unknowable. He meant that the nature of the divine exceeds the reach of mundane logic. The principle of non-contradiction, so sacred in ordinary reasoning, bows here before the vastness of transcendence. Consider how modern physics accepts wave-particle duality. Light defies binary categories, but remains empirically consistent. Similarly, Achintya Bheda Bheda invites us to accept that Krishna, the absolute truth, transcends yet includes all categories of experience. Mahaprabhu emphasized that the ultimate truth is to be known through Shabda Pramana, the reliable testimony of revealed scriptures. Human reasoning, though valuable, is limited. Our senses are plagued with four inherent defects: being imperfect, subject to illusion, with a tendency to make mistakes and to deceive ourselves and others. Our mundane inferences depend on prior perceptions with these defective senses and hence are prone to conclude wrongly. Thus, these two natural instruments of knowledge have evolved for survival in this material world and are not capable of revealing transcendence. Therefore, Gaudiya tradition does not reject reason. It situates reason within revelation. Revelation provides data from the spiritual realm. Reason organizes and confirms it, ensuring internal coherence. Jiva Goswami states that yukti, sound reasoning, must harmonize with Shabda, not contradict it. This teaching guards us from the intellectual arrogance, the claim that by speculation alone we may conquer the infinite absolute truth. Mahaprabhu instead pointed to Srimad Bhagavatam as the essence of all Vedic knowledge, declaring it the natural commentary of Vedanta Sutra and the supreme authority for realizing Krishna in truth. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had dialogue with various Vedantists. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu debated with many scholars of his time, namely Pandit Keshav Kashmiri, Sri Prakashananda Saraswati, Sri Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, Sri Venkata Bhatta in Srirangam, and many others. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tried to harmonize the understanding of various Vaishnava Sampradayas, accepting all of them in essence as representing the absolute truth correctly from their individual perspective, and preferred to focus on the core elements which are devotion to Lord Vishnu, practicing of Yuga Dharma, and chanting of the holy names of Lord Krishna. However, even while noting on the evidence of Padma Purana and other scriptures that though Sripada Shankaracharya was also a great devotee of Lord Krishna, that he had been tasked by the Lord himself with presenting a specific interpretation of Vedanta philosophy to divert the people away from the influence of Buddhistic Shunyavada philosophy. And this is revealed in the Padma Purana. This sophisticated interpretation, called Advaita or Mayavada, while succeeding in re-establishing the authority of the Vedas back in the land of Bharat, also had the undesirable consequences of favoring jnana based on pure speculation over devotion, with the Vedas taken only as a supportive of that interpretation. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu disagreed with this emphasis on various Mahavakyas, indicative of unqualified oneness, and pointed out the real Vakya or the essence of entire Veda is Omkara Pranava Mantra itself. This Omkara is the personal representation of the Lord himself, though also embodying certain impersonal aspects. From the Gaudiya standpoint, the experience of undifferentiated Brahman or Nirguna Brahman is genuine, but it is only the beginning of spiritual realization. The Bhagavad Gita 14:21 says, Brahmano hi pratishtaham reveals that Brahman itself rests upon Krishna. Just as sunlight emanates from sun, the impersonal Brahman is the effulgence of the Supreme Person. Srimad Bhagavata confirms the hierarchical stages of revelation and realization of the absolute truth from the lower impersonal to the higher states of Paramatma and Bhagavan. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.1 Vadanti tat tattvavidas tattvam yajnanam advayam. All non-different Brahmeti Paramatmeti Bhagavan iti shabdyate. Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan are three perspectives of the absolute truth. That absolute truth is Advayam, means there is no duality in that absolute truth. Translation. Learned transcendentalists who know the absolute truth call this non-dual substance impersonal Brahman, localized Paramatma, or the personality of God at Bhagavan. Advaita's method of neti neti, not that, not this, not that, strips away illusion, but also ends in static negation. The Gaudiya part does not negate, it harmonizes. The world is not unreal, it is real as energy, Shakti of the Lord, though the forms it takes is illusory. Thus we affirm both form and formlessness, both immanence and transcendence. The Upanishad seers prayed in the Upanishad as follows: O Lord, remove the golden covering and reveal your true face. Encapsulates this idea perfectly. In reality, if reality were truly impersonal, ultimately, whom would they be addressing? Their prayer itself proves that the relationship is eternal, not an illusion to be outgrown. The impersonal effulgence covers the personal reality of the absolute truth. In the Bhagavad Gita also, Krishna says, Naham prakasha sarvasya. I don't reveal myself to anyone, to everybody. The impersonal effulgence covers the personal reality of the absolute truth, which is revealed by one when one is a pure devotee. Referred to in the Upanishad passage, Satya, Satya, Dharmaya, Drushtaye, revealed to a pure devotee. Prema, the supreme goal. Mahaprabhu declared, Prema Pumartamhan, divine love is the highest goal of life. Traditional Vedic Varnashrama promotes 4 Purusharthas, Dharma, Artha, Kama, which is supposed to culminate in moksha, freedom from birth and death. But Chaitanya asks a deeper question. Freedom from what? Liberation from suffering is valuable but incomplete. The soul's true fulfillment lies not merely in existing peacefully, but in loving perfectly. Love transforms freedom into participation. Moksha is like the stillness of the ocean after the storm. Prema is the dance of waves upon the ocean. Eternal, alive, dynamic, and blissful waves. Even liberated souls, says Srimad Bhagavatam, remain absorbed in devotion. Thus, prema includes moksha, but transcends it. For one cannot love without being free, but one can be free and yet not love. Prema alone awakes the full potential of Satchit Ananda, eternal being, consciousness and bliss, in relationship with the Supreme Beloved, Shri Krishna. The central core teaching of the Gaudiyas, very clearly brought out by Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, who encapsulated Mahaprabhu's teaching in one brilliant verse. Aradhyo Bhagavan Vrajesha Tanayas Tad Dhama Vrindavanam Remya Kaschid Upasana Vrajavadhu Vargena Ya Kalpite Srimad Bhagavata Puranam Amalam Prema Pumartamahan Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhor Matam Idam Tatra Daraha Napparaha. Meaning, the son of Nanda, Sri Krishna of Vrindavan, is a supreme worshipable Lord. His abode of Vrindavan is equally worshipable. The gopis of loving service is the highest standard of devotion. Srimad Bhagavatam is a spotless authority, and pure love of God, prema, is life's ultimate goal. This Mahaprabhu declared is the final word of Vedanta, the perfection of both knowledge and love. Finally, what does the term Achintya teach us in practice? It teaches humility before the infinite. The intellect can analyze, but it must bow. The highest thinking ends not in dryness, but in adoration of the Lord. The devotee neither fears paradox nor abuses it. He recognizes that transcendence will always exceed comprehension, yet yield to devotion. As Mahaprabhu expressed in his Shishtashtaka, O Lord, son of Nanda, I am your eternal servant, fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Kindly lift me as a particle of dust at your lotus feet. This prayer reveals the heart of his philosophy. Knowledge finds fulfillment in surrender, and surrender blossoms into love of Krishna Prema. Thus, Achintya Bheda Abheda Tattva affirms that the world is real, the soul is eternal, the Lord supreme, and the love the final purpose of existence. It neither denies plurality nor loses unity. It neither abandons reason nor worships it. It neither rejects liberation nor stops with it. In this harmony of opposites stands the radiant figure of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, reason crowned by devotion, devotion illumined by wisdom, and wisdom fulfilled in love. May that love awaken in our hearts and in the hearts of all those who hear Lord Chaitanya's message. So, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, just now we heard the previous speaker, Sri Chiranjeev ji, mentioning that Aham is both the binder of the soul to the material world as well as liberator. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu defined that the Jiva's original designation, the eternal designation, Jivera Surupa Nitya Krishnera Dasa. So instead of identifying with various ahams, which are social identities that we have formed from the time of birth, they are called ahankara, false aham, false ego. But each living entity, Jiva, is unique, individual, an expansion of the Supreme Lord, eternally unique, and his designation, he has a sense of I. That sense of I is, I am the eternal servant of the Supreme Absolute Whole, Krishna. So, this is a little different from the oneness understanding that we have also another school of thought, where ultimately the Jiva has no personal aspect, there is no personality, there is no individuality, and everything is one. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, simultaneously one in quality, the absolute truth, the Param Satya, we are one in quality with Krishna, and simultaneously we are also different as being his energy. The absolute truth is a person, and a person has no meaning without energies. Shaktiman and Shaktis constitute the absolute Param Satya. This material energy itself, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, it is my 8 elements, Bhumirapo Nalavayu Kammanor Buddhirevacha. They are my separated energy. That's another energy of the Lord. And yet next Krishna says, the Jivas in the material world are eternally struggling in this material energy of mine. And they are also my higher energy, Jiva Shakti, which is spiritual. So there is a material energy, there is an individual spiritual energy, and the owner of all this is Aham Sarvasya Prabhavo Mata Sarvam Pravartate Iti Matva Bhajante Ma Buddha Bhava Samanvita. So, with respect to divinity of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, I'd like to say something. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself never made a public claim or demonstration of his divinity or identity with Lord Krishna as being an avatara. However, some of the Vedic scholars of that time and many of the leading Gaudiya Vaishnavas led by Advaita Acharya identified symptoms of his divinity and corroborated with Shastric evidence to confirm it. Lord Chaitanya did reveal his divinity to some of his closest associates, forbidding them from disclosing it publicly. Lord Chaitanya, because his whole avatara is avatara of Lord Krishna, but he is called as Bhakta Avatara. He did not want to be known as being actually Avatara of Krishna. Anybody who told him he is Avatara of Krishna, he used to close his ears. So, however, that was an example he was setting, that nobody should simply claim that they are God, forbidding them from disclosing it publicly. Lord Chaitanya was aware that laymen have the tendency to accept even impostors as divine. As much as during Lord Krishna's Avatara Leela also, King Paundraka claimed to be an incarnation of Vishnu himself, whom Lord Krishna finally killed in the battle. Though Gaudiya Vaishnava scholars have conducted vast research of scriptures to confirm the appearance of such a divine personality in Kali Yuga, we will just present here a few pieces of evidence to sustain that claim. We appeal to the revered saints, scholars, be sympathetic to this approach, though it may not persuade you to accept it, our claim. In the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna confirms that he appears in every yuga, so Kali Yuga is no exemption. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanirvavati bharata abhyuthanam adharmasya tadatmanam shrajamyam. Whenever and wherever there is decline in religious practice, O descendant of Bharata, and a prominent rise of irreligion, at that time I design myself. Srimad Bhagavatam in the 11th canto, 5th chapter, 32nd verse says, Krishna Varnam Tusha Krishnam Sangopangastra Parshadam Yajnai Sankirtana Prayer Yajantihi Sumedashaha. In the age of Kali, intelligent persons perform congregational chanting, Sankirtana, to worship the incarnation of Godhead, who constantly sings the name of Krishna. Although his complexion is not blackish, he is Krishna himself. He is accompanied by his associates, servants, weapons, and confidential companions. In two different sections of Vishnu Sahasranama, Lord Vishnu's many names include this description. Suvarnavarna Hemango Varangas Chandana Gadi Sannyasa Krichama Shanto Nishta Shanti Parayana. Meaning, in his early pastimes, he appears as a householder with a golden complexion. His limbs are beautiful and his body smeared with the pulp of sandalwood seems like molten gold. In his later pastimes, he accepts his sannyas order and he is equipoised and peaceful. He is the highest abode of peace and devotion, for he silences the impersonalist non-devotees. So Vishnu Sahasranama also indicates all the characteristics of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. There are numerous direct and indirect references from Veda, Upanishads, Puranas, and other sacred texts, which confirm the status of divinity of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Apart from scriptural evidence, Acharyas have laid down two other bases for accepting the divinity of any supposed avatara. One of them is the avatara has to perform some Adbhuta Leela, and the second is that they should have demonstrably displayed their Vishwarupa to some devotees. Both Lord Krishna and Lord Rama have fulfilled these conditions. Lord Krishna showed his Vishwarupa to Arjuna, as described in the Bhagavad Gita, and performed amazing pastimes like lifting Govardhana hill, as described. Lord Rama built the amazing bridge using bare floating stones over the ocean to cross from Bharatadesha to Sri Lanka, which is visible till today in evidence. Lord Rama is described by Sri Purandaradasa in a song as having taken the personal form of himself among all Vanaras and demons at one point during the war, when the Vanaras ran away in fear, seeing the ferocious form of Ravana and Kumbhakarna and other Rakshasas. Likewise, both Vrindavan Das Thakur, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj describe in their biography of Lord Chaitanya that he displayed the universal form and other divine forms to some other close associates, who later went on to write songs in glorification of Lord Chaitanya about those revelations. Secondly, the biographies describe some of the amazing pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya, who while going from Puri to Vrindavan, he was crossing the forest called Jharikanda forest. There, he was chanting and dancing in ecstasy along the way. And you could see, and it is recorded, that the animals, tigers, wild animals, were also dancing to his chanting in ecstasy. For both these events, his servant Balabhadra Bhattacharya was an eyewitness. Further, even today in Alanath temple, that is in Orissa, there are stones which contain the depressions caused by their melting on being touched by the transcendental ecstatic body of Sri Chaitanya when he fell down to the ground in supreme spiritual bliss. Thus, these claims are not sentimental claims of his followers, but grounded in spiritual orthodox traditions. Having concluded on the life, philosophy, and divinity of Lord Chaitanya, we now continue with other associates and successors in Gaudiya line. Mahaprabhu's most intimate associates, who records the teachings and revealed the confidential mission and ecstasies of Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu used the medium of conversation with Ramananda Raya to reveal esoteric aspects of Krishna conscious philosophy. The 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. You have all heard about the 6 Goswamis. They are the basis they created the basis for the Siddhanta of Gaudiya Vaishnavas under the instruction of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, Jiva Goswami, Gopal Bhatta Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami, and Raghunath Bhatta Goswami were tasked by Mahaprabhu to excavate the pastime place of Krishna and to codify the philosophy and practices of our tradition. The key works include Jiva Goswami's Sat Sandarbhas and other works, systematizing Gaudiya Vaishnava theology, making Bhagavatam the central pramana, and showing Krishna the Supreme Personality of Godhead, not just as an avatara, but the source of all avatars. Rupa Goswami's Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Ujjvala Nilamani, Dhanakeli Kaumudi, defining the science and ecstatic variety of Bhakti Rasa and revealing confidential pastimes of Sri Radha and Krishna. Sanatana Goswami's Brihat Bhagavatamrita, Hari Bhakti Vilasa, narrate the hierarchy of devotion and devotees, revealing that the gopis of Vrindavan are the highest class of devotees situated in Madhurya Bhakti. The second work is one on rules for sadhana bhakti and service of the deities. Gopala Bhatta Goswami's Satkriya Sara Deepika, manual of Vaishnava conduct. Each Goswami also established important temples where worship is going on till date. In Vrindavan, Sapta Devalaya is there. They are all the original temples established by these 6 Goswamis. The Goswamis' works are many, many more scholarly presentation, whose elaborations and expositions of the science of Krishna consciousness and bhakti, all of which are unprecedented in depth, clarity, and spirituality. Baladev Vidyabhu, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura, 1626 to 1708. Major works: Sarabha Bhakti Chintamani, commentaries on Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavad Purana, Ujjala Nilamani, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. His contributions: scholarly works performing deep analysis of Rasa theory, Achinte Bheda Veda, and demonstrating the Rasa Tattva in a work like Bhagavad Gita, which is normally seen as Tattva Darshana work. His works or commentary on the Bhagavad Gita can be considered as the inspiration of the Hare Krishna movement spreading all over the world, for his comment on Bhagavad Gita inspired Srila Prabhupada and enabled Srila Prabhupada to be empowered to follow his spiritual master Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati's instruction to spread Lord Chaitanya's message and Krishna Bhakti all over the world. Baladev Vidyabhushana was a disciple of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. It was said, during the mid 18th century, there were criticism that your parampara does not have, your Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva does not have a commentary on Vedanta Sutra. If any new line is there, unless you have a commentary on Vedanta Sutra, it is not considered to be a valid line of school of thought. So, Baladev Vidyabhushana, he formalized Gaudiya Vedanta, responded to the Ramanandi challenge. Ramanandis challenged that you don't have a commentary on Vedanta Sutra. The Ramanandi Pandits of Jaipur questioned the basis of Gaudiya Sampradaya, which did not have a commentary on Vedanta Sutra. With the blessings and direct instruction of the deity Govinda Deva, Govinda temple in Jaipur, he was directly inspired by Govinda Deva to write a commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. He composed in record time, in a few days only, an original and refreshing commentary on Vedanta Sutra, which permanently gave a philosophical footing to Gaudiya Sampradaya. Indeed, it elevated the prestige of Gaudiya Sampradaya in the eyes of the scholars of all Sampradayas. Then we have modern saints in the 18th, 19th century. Bhakti Vinod Thakur, who is Prabhupada's Guru's Guru. And he was, major contribution was, he was primarily responsible for restoring the prestige of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan movement, which in the last few centuries after Mahaprabhu and his initial followers disappeared, had gradually transformed into various sentimental cults in the name of Sankirtana movement, to the point that intellectuals refused to associate with Chaitanya's teachings. It had become completely diluted, and there were imitations. People were imitating in the dress of Krishna, Radha, and then indulging in illicit thing. Last about 150 years, Lord Chaitanya's teachings completely got diluted. It is Shri Bhakti Vinod Thakur who revived all these things, who revived the word. Thakur Bhakti Vinod wrote boldly and categorically against all such degraded expressions of devotion to Lord Krishna through so-called misinterpretation of Lord Chaitanya's profound teachings, and established the influence of original teachers under the able guidance of Sri Jagannath Das Babaji. Thakur Bhakti Vinod was an amazing person who did all these spiritual endeavors, even while maintaining a large family of 13 children and a full-time magistrate job in the British Raj. The Thakura is known for his integrity, fairness, compassion in public affairs. Bhakti Vinod Thakur was also appointed as the magistrate of Jagannath Puri temple, wherein he initiated many reforms and increased the prestige of the temple administration. He liberated the general devotee public from the grip and influence of false avataras, saints who were duping them with their antics and supernatural claim. Bhakti Vinod Thakur's writings contain the most profound revelations and insights into the Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy, perhaps next in richness only to Srila Jiva Goswami. He has often been referred to as the seventh Goswami. And Bhakti Vinod Thakur is specially to be credited with discovering many places of pastimes, Leelasthana of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which had been covered. Bhakti Vinod Thakur also introduced a mass means of spreading the holy name of Krishna in all towns and villages of Bengal and Orissa. Lastly, Bhakti Vinod Thakur laid a spiritual vision for a worldwide movement of Sankirtana, anticipating and predicting arrival of a great personality. Shri Bhakti Vinod Thakur predicted that a great personality would come who would take the Krishna Nama all over the world. And he said, I am waiting. He stated, I am waiting for that great day when Americans, Australians, Europeans come to Navadip chanting and dancing the holy name of Krishna. And that was Srila Prabhupada. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati was his disciple, who was the guru of Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada. He also contributed very significantly, especially in Chaitanya's tradition, was was attacked by caste Brahmanas, that how can you give Nama Diksha, how can you give Diksha to those who are not born in Brahmana family? So he had a great fight, debates, everything from the Shastra, establishing that to take Harinama mantra, one does not have to be a Brahmana. One has to simply develop the samskara and he can worship God. Stri, Vaishya, Shudra, all, there is no difference, there is no disqualification, as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, in the matter of Krishna Bhakti. He dynamically unified all Vaishnava Sampradayas by paying reference to all Vaishnava Acharyas, building a temple for their worship, writing a summary of various Vaishnava Siddhantas, how they could be harmonized under Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Krishna Bhakti. Now come to Bhakti Vedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of ISKCON movement. Srila Prabhupada is a current link in the Gaudiya Sampradaya to all followers of Hare Krishna movement and also ISKCON. Even though Srila Prabhupada disappeared from the vision of his followers in 1977, his true followers experience his daily guidance, blessings, and presence through his books, instructions, orders, and when his followers live his teachings. Srila Prabhupada stressed a lot on the teachings of the Acharya, the Vani of the Acharya, more than the Vapu, the physical body of the Acharya. They come and go. But the Vani, the Shabda that they have uttered, they remain forever. And the Acharya lives in his Vani. And anyone who wants to take advantage of the Vani of an Acharya, he can definitely get in direct connection and spiritual inspiration. Just like our Guru Granth Sahib, all the Kurbani, all we have said, we just the sound is enough to come in touch with the author of that sound. Doesn't have to be physically present for getting association or satsanga. Srila Prabhupada was born in Calcutta in the family of pious, devoted, aristocratic family of businessmen. However, right from his childhood, he displayed exclusive devotion to the deities of Radha and Krishna, and he grew up under the devoted guidance of his devotee father, Sri Gaur Mohan De. He entered Grahastha Ashrama early and encountered for the first time his future spiritual master, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, in 1922. That meeting had a profound transformative effect as it made clear to Srila Prabhupada that he had to dedicate his life endeavors to follow the order of his Guru and dedicate himself to spreading the message of love through Sankirtana movement all over the world, particularly in the West. This encounter and the order he received from his Guru at that time transfixed Srila Prabhupada's mind, so that even while he carried out his Grahastha duties, he never lost sight of what he had to do in his life, though he had no particular idea how to go about it. As his family responsibilities grew with 4 children, he discharged them very faithfully, carried out all his spiritual sadhana, and in 1933 he took formal initiation vows from his Guru. In 1944, he finally could find time and personal money to personally publish and distribute free copies of a magazine, Back to Godhead, which he authored in its entirety, edited, got printed, published, and distributed single-handedly to all the top intellectuals, political authorities, and philanthropists, with a view to influence those in power to bring spiritual renaissance his spiritual master dreamed of. In that period, Srila Prabhupada found that the Indian public seemed consumed with the idea of being politically independent from British Raj and had no time or sympathy for his divine cause. Srila Prabhupada found that even his personal family did not have much appreciation for his endeavors. In 1954, he distanced himself from the family involvement as his children had grown up by themselves to take responsibilities, and devoted himself full-time as a vanaprastha to the missionary goals outlined by his Guru. However, even though those initial efforts did not gain success, nothing daunted Srila Prabhupada, who knew he had to do all he could do to follow the orders of his Guru. As mentioned before, such high levels of inspiration is an atmosphere of total discouragement, where only possible as Srila Prabhupada's inspiration were the words of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura, a previous Acharya in Gaudiya Parampara, whose soul-stirring commentary on Bhagavad Gita was always ringing in his ears. With such a high level of spiritual inspiration, Srila Prabhupada continued his struggle for nearly 11 years before he could convince a steamship company owner, Srimati Sumati Morarji, to give him a free passage to go to preach in the United States. Thus he set sail in 1965 on the Jalajota cargo ship of Scindia Steamship Company and landed on the east coast of USA. The story of birth and exponential growth of Hare Krishna movement in the West in 1966, then all over the world, including India, is a long one, which will take hours and volumes in length. Suffice it to say that Srila Prabhupada went to US with no more than 40 rupees in his pocket in 1965, with no friend, contact except an unknown acquaintance who extended hospitality for about a week or so, merely in deference to the request of his Indian father. Srila Prabhupada endured completely strange surroundings, immense hardships, lived among strangers and homeless people, but in his consciousness, he was always living in Vrindavan. Though he was 70 years old at that time of starting ISKCON, amazingly, all his followers were young people just out of college who had been part of the counterculture movement in the United States, who were protesting the Vietnam War and the orthodox religions. After 3 years of struggle, finally ISKCON took off in a big way and within a few years spread rapidly all over US, Europe, nearly into every continent. Srila Prabhupada himself undertook a punishing schedule traveling around the globe for 14 times at that old age, covering nearly every continent, every major countries, inspiring local people in each place to take to Krishna consciousness. Even as he was leading and managing a worldwide movement, he also contributed in many amazing ways. He chose the quietude of the late midnight and early morning, sacrificed his sleep to write over 80 books, which were all standard spiritual texts of philosophy and religion in all major universities of the world. Further, he established Bhaktivedanta Book Trust, which holds the copyrights of his books, and through ISKCON and Hare Krishna movement temples, millions of books like the Bhagavad Gita as it is and Srimad Bhagavatam have been sold, are continuing to be sold all over the world in almost all major, more than 100 languages of the world. His major books, extensive commentaries on Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Nectar of Devotion, Teachings of Lord Chaitanya, Krishna Trilogy, Teachings of Lord Kapila, Teachings of Queen Kunti, etc. Contribution: founded ISKCON, BBT, Mayapur Vrindavan Trust, ISKCON Press, etc. Managing global institution, created and chaired World Governing Body Commission, instituted global processes, registered autonomous branches, trained secretaries and future leaders. Lectures, letters and conversation. He wrote over 8,000 letters in these 10 years. Delivered thousands of lectures to colleges, august bodies, conduct public Pandal program, radio, TV interviews. Achievements: successful global dissemination of Gaudiya Vaishnavism through the wide distribution of spiritual literature and mass outreach, built over 108 temples in 11 years, organized Jagannath Ratha Yatra and celebrations around major cities in the world, and established Vedic culture successfully within Western culture. Established precedent for the Ritvik form of initiating disciples into the future by unique and special spiritual order. Disciples. Initiated 10,000 first generation disciples, and currently second and third generation of his disciples numbering nearly 1 million. All accepting serious lifelong vows to follow the spiritual sadhana, including no intoxication, no meat eating, no illicit sex, no gambling, no onion, no garlic. These are serious missionaries and sadhakas with millions more admirers and followers, not necessarily accepting serious vows. There are millions of them. In recognition of the universal preaching and contribution of Srila Prabhupada to Sanatana Dharma, the heads of various akharas have gathered in Kumbh Mela, recent Kumbh Mela, conferred on Srila Prabhupada the title Vishwaguru. It is to be noted that Srila Prabhupada is the only Acharya who has ever been confirmed with this unique title, quite befitting the actual contribution to Sanatana Dharma Sthapana all over the world. In conclusion, I have to say that it has been a privilege to present this 360-degree views of the Gaudiya Sampradaya, covering its philosophy, lives of Chaitanya and all his followers, the last 5 centuries and their contribution, the history of the Hare Krishna movement, presently offering the legacy of Gaudiya Sampradaya through its worldwide confederation of temples, farm communities, preaching centers, festivals, books, spiritual association of devotees of Lord Chaitanya and Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer. Otherwise, I'll come down.
Swamiji, a term in your middle of the speech came as Shishtashtaka.
Shishtashtaka.
Yeah, but actually we are aware and known almost again and again as Shastashtaka. That's moon's presence in horoscope 6th and 8th. Is it other than that or something?
No. Shishtashtaka is, there are 8 verses that Lord Chaitanya composed. That is the only thing in writing he left. Everything else he told his disciples to follow. Shishta Ashtaka. 8 verses. Any other question? The question was, what is this Shishtashtaka that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left behind? You thought it is something else. No. No, not that. No, it nothing to do with, whether Shishtaka has anything to do with astrology? No. Shishtashtaka are very divine verses that Cheto Darpanamarjanam Mahadavagni Nirvapanam Shreya Kairva Chandrika Vidaranam Vidyavadu Jevanam Anandam Buddhivardhanam Pratipada Purnamrita Swadanam Sarvatma Snapanam Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. This one. Like that, there are 8 verses. Trinadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Saishna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari. Like that. Any other question? Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Thank you for patiently listening.